Hello, I'm Certified Financial Planner Chris Cooper. Many of you are wondering about the election again this year, and as a follow-up to comments I made earlier this year in our blog, I thought I would follow up on a couple of things that you may have some interest in. One, when I talked about in the previous blog entry, we talked about where the political action money from Wall Street goes oftentimes tells us who the President of the United States is going to be next. In 2008, when President Obama and John McCain were running against each other, it was obviously lopsided. Wall Street had given almost all of its money to the Democrats, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama, more so than they gave to all 9 of the Republican contenders all put together. So that was definitely telling us that no matter what we were going to do and no matter how everybody wanted to think, Wall Street had already ordained that the next president was going to be Obama. What about this time? Now we have an election coming up here in November. And one of the things that's kind of neat about this election, of course, is you have an incumbent president now running against a challenger from the Republican Party. Many times the polls have been kind of telling us right now if the election was held, let's say a few months ago, the president would be reelected, but we might have a mix in terms of what happens in the Senate and in the Congress. We might see more Democrats, more Republicans, less Republicans, and that part still has to play out yet. But one of the things we started seeing coming out this week was because there was so much news about many of the banks having challenges with their own internal trading and the Volcker rule being imposed here, that many of these banks were being put under scrutiny as for what they were doing with their money. And one of the things we started seeing was, where was their political money starting to go toward? Well, it was definitely very different than it was in 2008. The majority of the money from one major Wall Street bank was going to Barack Obama in 2008. What about this year? Guess what? The majority of the money has gone to Mitt Romney. So if the other Wall Street banks and other Wall Street firms come out with their money, and we start seeing that information now coming out between May and June or so, and you watch for it in the Wall Street Journal or in business newspapers, you'll start to see, we may start seeing this slant start rolling towards Mitt Romney for president. I'm not endorsing either person. That's not where I'm at. If anything, I'm agnostic as to who is elected, because all we're concerned about is, do we make money or not? And here's where the problem is. When people start thinking, well, I've got to have this kind of person elected into office or we're not going to make money, then that means they don't know how to flexibly move their business in one direction or the other. Whereas with Wall Street, all it wants to do is influence the Congress and the president. It doesn't want to necessarily own them or control them. So when you see the political action money flowing now towards Mitt Romney, what Wall Street is starting to think is Romney has a good chance of being elected. That's something that some people may have some concerns about. But nevertheless, when you start seeing that money flowing towards one party or the other, it definitely gives them a big edge. And it also tends to bring the votes along with it.